The Grappling Hour is brought to you by BioPro Plus, the faster, easier, and safer non-synthetic alternative to painful anti-aging and hormone treatments.
I find like there's an internal battle within me of trying to do good jiu-jitsu and really shit jiu-jitsu. I think definitely being around Craig too much has rubbed off on me in the sense where it's like I'm trying to like pull mount from close guard and try Ezekiel you. So I'm of the mindset where it's like sometimes you just gotta have fun.
What is up, everybody? It is your friendly neighborhood BJJ podcaster, Raf Esparza, coming to you with another great installment of the Grappling Hour. I hope that you're having a lovely day. And I want to tell you right now, if you are not supporting our show, and I get it, likes, subscribes, all that stuff is good, and I encourage you to do it. But if you could do us a solid and become one of the members of our community, aka our HY.PAGE /Grappling Hour community, you will see interviews like this 30 days before anybody else. I'm telling you, 30 days before everybody else. You'll be talking about the things that you'll hear before everybody else. Like you'll hear what the Rutolos had to say about steroids way before they go out and challenge people to matches on the internet for 10-to-1 odds. Listen, I can't say any more about that. I just know if you want to follow the good stuff, go there. Plus, if you want to become one of our premium members, we do tape studies with athletes. A good friend of ours who's on this show right now, he has a teammate, Ethan Krellenston, who actually broke down his combat jiu-jitsu win with us on this episode, which was an epic win over a good friend of ours, Nathan Orchard. However, much, much more. Extra episodes, only exclusive there. You guys get the deal. Go to HY.PAGE /Grappling Hour to find out more. All right, what do I say about this kid? So I'm sure a lot of you have seen this young man making the rounds, whether it's a Craig Jones bit, winning gold at Pans, not a bit, real life, getting excellent marks for his work all around the world in submission grappling tournaments. This dude is international, not only making a scene on trials everywhere, but if you're watching the Asian trials over there, Asia, is that what we call it? I don't know. But when you watch those trials, you saw like this kid is coming up even more and more. He's aligned himself for the B team for whatever reasons. I guess we'll find out more here. But you can see instant growth and great talent. Fans of this show may actually recognize him as the uke who wanted revenge on his sensei in a WWE BJJ video. So why don't we welcome him, Jozef Chen, and ask with this very first question, Joseph, how did it feel like to be a hilarious contributor in WWE BJJ Week?
That's probably my biggest achievement in life, to be honest. But it's hard to put it into words. I think that's the best statement to sum it up.
So David's way that he told me about it was he goes, hey, it was all Joseph's idea. And I see the video, and then I see that it's mostly an uke who wants revenge, but who doesn't quite get it the way he thought he would. And I thought to myself, this is a very like pro David's a big, strong dude video. Was that really his idea or your idea?
I don't know. I think just because we came out with a bunch of the videos before, it only seemed like the right story arc. It's like there would need to be some level of revenge, but if I were to win, it's like too much of a typical underdog story. It's too boring. So you got to have that, like, let's say, maybe not anticlimactic ending, but it's a little, I think, comical in a way.
I mean, it was really funny. You guys, you pulled a big story from start to finish. There was a build, and I got notes from some of my friends who are pro wrestlers who said, hey, that was pretty good. And I got to tell you, when you get those notes, you definitely jot it down. I guess my question to you is, let's start even before that. When is the first time that David tells you, hey, I'm doing these technique videos, they're a little pro wrestling, are you okay, and are you up for it? Like, how does that conversation happen?
So I think this was like the first time I was in Singapore. This was early 2021. And so I was there and I just got to know him. It was when I was a blue belt, I think. No, definitely. And so we ended up doing these private training sessions in his attic. And then I think he did one or two before me. And it was like BJJ Wrestling Week, I remember. And so he was like, why don't we do a couple? And then we just started brainstorming a couple ideas. I was actually, at that point, I was very like naive to WWE. So a lot of these moves, like, I basically knew like an RKO and that's it. So he had to inform me. And so I would ask him, okay, what are some WWE moves you are looking to incorporate? And then we try brainstorm different ways we can use jiu-jitsu to get into those. But it was quite fun, to be honest. But yeah, it was just something interesting to do in the meantime between trainings.
Yeah, you struck me as somebody who actually had a strong grasp of it. So hearing this, I think it bodes well to your jiu-jitsu career because it shows how quickly you were able to integrate things, because I saw you taking moves like a pro. I have to ask, though, was there a move that you didn't enjoy taking? Like, is there a move that you didn't like being on the receiving end? Because everybody likes doing them. And I do them to all my training partners, and they always like the idea of it until they're the person on the other side of it. So was there one or two moves that you go, listen, not my favorite?
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily, like, the physical discomfort isn't bad enough so that I don't actually enjoy it just watching it later. So for me, it's all worth it. There's no regret or any, I wish I didn't have to do this. I think I enjoy them all, whether I'm on the giving end or receiving end. But okay. I have definitely done it. Like, it's definitely better, and there's more satisfaction when I do it to a training partner in a live round or something like that. That's the best. I
guess that's a good question to go to now. Now that you've become immersed in this world, and I see Craig Jones hitting camel clutches and Boston crabs, I should ask the good follow-up question, which is, are there moves that you now enjoy doing to people having gone through all of that training?
I'd say the one I probably hit the most is the Boston crab. It's like kind of the most ridiculous one, but there's a lot of satisfaction involved in doing that.
I will be 100% honest to you. My training partners, not fans of the Boston crab, because I think probably more than arm bars, more than Kimuras, it's my most consistent submission. And every single person who gets caught in it literally tells me to go fuck myself and get out. And I tell them, I'm like, if you're doing jiu-jitsu right, you won't get caught. But I have an entry, and I don't know that you saw Cade Rotolo recently at one, kind of got this heel hook, right?
Yeah.
There's a reap variation that I have that is similar to that. I'm obviously not his level, but for my version, instead of taking that heel hook, I usually use it as an anchor as they turn. And then instead of just taking that heel hook, I just grab anchor and then sit back. And the worst is the recognition of I can't move and me going, hold on. And I swear to God, I am the oldest person in the world because I go, oh God. Don't move. It's just good. I'm going to get the second leg. So I have a lot of friends who don't enjoy that one. But yeah, I'm glad that has found its way into your training, especially with the type of goons that you are training with now.
For sure. I think for me, the most common entry I hit is mostly off of when my opponent finishes an Iranian off of a shot. I'll look to pick up their feet and then transfer over to that. But I'll have to try from like a leg locking position. I think I know what you mean, so I'll have to try that.
Yeah, I mean, my hardest part here is especially for new students, don't try to reap them. But then these idiots reap themselves, and I go, no, don't do that. Like, you just made this worse for yourself. And I'll tell you one last thing, and I'll send you this video after we do this. But one of my very good training partners, he could see it coming. He knew it was bad news. He put his arm back to get my arm as I have the single leg Boston Crab, and then literally just exposed his heel. So I had a single leg Boston Crab heel hook. And I looked at him, and the worst thing you hear on the video is him going, "I made it worse." And I just thought, this is my new jam. This is what I have to do. Forget a sharpshooter. I might have to keep this one up. So I will say that
the DVD coming out?
Honestly, listen, I'm not your guys' level, but I have 100% had people be like, when I joked, I was like, what would I do? A WWE BJJ seminar? And they're like, would you do it? I go, no, I don't think I could take people's money that way. And they're like, I mean, you're hitting them in real life. And I go, but enough about me. I do want to ask this though, because one of the jokes I told you when you did the video is that you did the sharpshooter in a way, and it's the one where you cross the legs and you turn them over, but you did it in a way that looked like the old school New Japan Pro Wrestling variations of it. And the thing you did with your face made me laugh so hard. And normally when I see people do my move, I go, no, kid, you pick another move. But I laughed so hard at that. So you have a sense of humor. Where does this goofball funny nature come from for you?
I don't know. Maybe I would assume it stems from my childhood.
Yeah.
I don't know. What type of? I'm not sure what answer to give. Like, all the depression has made me very sarcastic and very. What would be the best word to describe it?
I tell people this. Sometimes you can tell you speak a similar language with somebody when you don't actually know them. I've never talked to you. We've exchanged some messages here and there, but I could see just in the way you were playing it, and even in the way you carry yourself, like the way you take a photo and you like extend this neck out, where I look at it and I go, my man is trying to put Brock Lesnar neck to shame. Like, you have nothing to choke up here. Where does this thing come from? Because even on my best day, I still can't get the look that you get when you make that face.
So actually, it came from at my gym in Shanghai, the one I train at. It's called it's Absolute MMA Shanghai. And I remember they were doing this pose like before, like all the Khabib stuff, and like especially with the Khabib hat. Mm-hmm. And so, because I think the head coach there, Kemal, he's Turkish. So I assumed something about that. There were some other some Muslims there. So I think at the end of the day, this started being a thing. But then I remember some people were doing like kind of neck thing, but they weren't really flexing their traps a lot. They were like kind of doing like this. And so I believe I was the first one to actually try intentionally flex my traps as much as possible, and slowly it became a thing. And so Kenta, when Kenta did ADCC, in his face off with JT, he did it as well, and I think that was the best thing ever. That was probably one of the highlights of my life, seeing him do this facing off against JT. I was like, this is the best shit ever.
Because I have to be honest with you, as a guy who does memes and Photoshops, I saw just the unedited version of your first time doing it. Like it crossed my consciousness. And I looked at you and I go, obviously, dude, your traps are awesome. But second, is that real? Are those is this kid literally this jacked already? Because I go, you're barely 17, 18 right now?
I just turned 18 a couple months ago.
Congrats. Fuck off. When I look at that, I go, dude, this dude's jacked. And then the worst part is the overexertion of it. I went to go in a mirror to try it one day with my crew. And I had my shirt off and they were just like, yeah, it doesn't work for you. And I go, okay. So as I was coming here, I actually had a tank top and I was going to come over to do the interview. And then I thought about it and I was like, in no way, shape, or form should I be trying to invite a pose off between the young man on the other side of this video. So I very quickly changed my shirt as a result of that.
I honestly don't think it's too much I wouldn't say it's like, I don't think I've like big traps in general. I think it's just there's a lot of technique to do it. Because I really like, because if you look at my neck objectively, it's not like, I don't think it's huge or anything. But then I think you have to like roll your shoulders back and then you can get like a nice pose going.
But look at that. Like, just, you know what you're doing. Like, you have spent time finessing this one thing. So I'm not crazy. I'm not just inventing something out of nowhere being like, this is insane. I know that you put it together and I think you need to run with it, because every time I see that happening, you look like a frog that had just like puffed out its chest. And it's like your special thing is to inflate your traps. And I go, all right, kid, you win. That's yours. So if you didn't invent it, you definitely pioneered it. So I will give you the full credit on that.
I appreciate it.
Joseph, we always like to go a little more current, but for you, I actually want to do the reverse. So I want to get to know your origin story. You're kind of threw us around in different places. You're obviously very young. When did jiu-jitsu find its way into your life?
So I first started training when a bit after I turned 14. So before that, I was like previously exposed to MMA. So I recently moved to a new city. I moved to Nanjing. And one of my classmates, he's actually a bit older. I think I was 14, he was 16. Actually, no, I was 13 when I went there, and he showed me MMA. And so I had a lot of interest in that, and I wanted to pursue MMA. So I started doing like Muay Thai and boxing when I was 13 to 14. But after that, once I turned 14, I decided, okay, me and my friend, we wanted to learn how to do jiu-jitsu. So we looked up our local jiu-jitsu gym in Nanjing, China, and we went there, and that's how it started. And so my original intention was to learn jiu-jitsu for MMA, but after doing jiu-jitsu for like a couple months, I was like, I think I like this more. So I ended up sticking with that.
A lot of people fall in love with jiu-jitsu at different times. It seems like it happened very early for you. Do you have a distinguishing moment where you knew like, nah, I'm a lifer. Like, I love this? Because I know doing it in comparison to MMA is one thing, but really finding your own space here sometimes happens magically, or there's a moment that kind of sticks out to you. Is there a moment that sticks out to you in your jiu-jitsu journey?
In terms of my love for it, not necessarily. I think my appreciation and my love for jiu-jitsu comes from more or less like just trying to learn new shit. But I think because initially when I started, it was something physical and competitive that I enjoyed. And I had done like, and also like, I think the mentally stimulating part was also like something that had to do with why I preferred it over other sports. Because I didn't like playing team sport because I wasn't necessarily like great at teamwork. I would get upset if I had my teammates or something. And then I did swimming for a bit. And then that for me, it was just mentally very tough, and I enjoyed that, but it wasn't very mentally stimulating. Whereas jiu-jitsu, like, I hate the comparison to like human chess, but you can, in some ways, there.
So hold on. Why do you hate that comparison? Because I say it, but then I say something to the effect of, but sometimes goons can be really good at it too. So it's not like the world's most educated and smart sport. And especially when you see how these guys act off the mats, they're not exactly young chess geniuses off the mat. So what is your perturbedness hinged by on this?
So maybe hate is a bit of a strong word, but at this point, I feel like it's a bit cringy in how it's used, because one, I do think it's definitely overused, and I understand it's like a marketing tactic because it's like, oh, it's human chess. We're not just meatheads trying to like choke the shit out of each other. But also it kind of makes, I feel like whoever says it is like, yeah, we're doing human chess, makes you feel like really good about yourself. And it's like, we're just hugging each other. Like, I don't know.
There's a part of me that, especially in your case, I'm sure if you're like, no, it's human chess. These guys are very educated. They're not just meatheads. Anyway, come to B Team. Come on over this way. Let me introduce you. This is Nicky Rod. No big. He's good. Yeah.
Don't they have a podcast called like The Simple Man, or what was it called? Like, I forgot what it's called. But
I don't know, but I'm pretty sure I know for sure I at least messaged Ethan and Damien after they said they were putting up a podcast, and I just go, ugh. Because it's not like I enter tournaments and competitions and try to go like, well, I'm like you guys now. These guys now have a podcast, and I know what it is, so I want to be like, call me after you guys get 20. Like, this is my realm. I'm happy to give you guys pointers, but I know what the show is going to sound like. So good luck with it. But yeah, I definitely know, because it's definitely interesting to see them get together and just be bros. Just go like, yeah, I feel like every other sentence on that show, if it doesn't, it should start with, bro, no, that's not even what I was talking about. Bro, it's all in science. Bro, when like a lady farts, it's like, bro, you know what I mean, bro? And I go, yeah, that's going to be the show they're going to do. So I wish them all the best.
It's the only way it should be. That's the only show they should do. No.
Yeah, I don't know that anybody's going to them for stock market advice and etc.
They should get a crypto sponsor and then start giving crypto advice. That'd be the only way to go about doing things. There's no other way. That's the only right way.
I'm pretty sure I'm going to get a note from Ethan or David after this, but that's fine. I would tell you though, we'll get to your association with them in a minute, but I do want to catalog this. So you're 13, you say, all right, MMA is cool in its own way, but I love jiu-jitsu more. When do you fall in love with it to the point that you decide to make it a path you want to go down, like more than just a hobby?
Yeah, so actually this is quite clear to me. So yeah, when I was 14, I started training, and then I did it like on and off. Well, not on and off, but like a couple times a week, not daily. But when COVID hit, I was actually in Taiwan, and I wasn't able to go back to China for a while. So I was in Taiwan for like 3 months because my school had closed. I couldn't go back. So, however, fortunate enough for me, I was able to keep training because Taiwan, they went through SARS, I think. And so they already had a protocol in place. So they didn't lock down or anything. So I was able to train for these 3 months. I ended up training like multiple times a day. And that gave me a lot of opportunity. That's when I started watching instructional. So this was like March 2020, right? And so that's when I started watching instructionals, and I just had the time to take it more seriously, as opposed to having to do school, having to blah, blah, blah. And I remember I sent my mom a message about how I kind of wanted to see if I could pursue jiu-jitsu more seriously. I made like a long note, and then I made sure to read it properly, and then I sent it to her. And then my mom, she's lovely. So fortunately enough, she and very open-minded. So she agreed. And then on certain terms, and some of those terms have changed over time, but that's basically it. And so I think originally, because I was able to do school somewhat remotely, because I just had to take a couple exams and I'd be able to finish school, and so that was fine. I didn't necessarily have to be there for every class. So I negotiated with the school with the help of my mom, so that if I was able to study and I was able to just take the exams, I wouldn't have to show up to school. So that ended up happening this was when I was like 15, I think. Yeah, it was like 15, and then yeah, that's how it happened. So after that, I started training basically around once or twice a day during the weekdays, and then yeah.
Yeah, and I think this might be around the time when I become familiar with you because of the video, or I'm watching you in the videos that you're doing with David, where I go, oh, okay. But what I don't know at this time is how good you are. Now, you start to get some heat, and you start seeing some momentum coming. And I know you mentioned that you were doing privates with David because, again, training was hard to make happen. And I know he was doing them upstairs, and I think you mentioned an attic, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And
we were just doing private training with some of our friends, but yeah.
Yeah, and I know how good he is. So when I hear somebody like him talking about you, and he was like, I go, oh, how is he? You know, like, how does he roll? I'm not as familiar, but how does he roll? And he's like, kid's a fucking problem. I hate it. And I go, oh. And I'm looking at the size difference between the two of you, and I go, why? Shouldn't you just be able to smash him? And he's like, no, he's learning quick, and he's very, you'll see. And I go, oh, okay. And cut to maybe a few months later, I'm like, no, I really am seeing. So by the time you made it to B team and people start finding out more and more who you are, I'm like, oh, he's old hat. I've known about him for a while. Jozef Chen, yeah, he's super strong, very good sharpshooter, not as good as mine, but very, very good at what he does. So I could converse with people about you. So now I can kind of see there's that trajectory of you're training out that way. When does the decision get made to come to the States?
So around a similar time, like 2020, I had plans to go to Henzo's, but then COVID happened. So obviously that wasn't possible. And so I planned on always, like, I wanted to try and make plans to go to Puerto Rico when they were there as well. And then they broke up and moved to Austin. And I went when I had the means to go. So I had a sponsor who helped me go out there. And previously, because the US was quite difficult for me at the time. This was when I was like a blue belt, so like 16, I think. And I went to Singapore instead, and that's where I met David. And so I was 2021, and I wanted to get good training and internationally. So instead of just staying in China, I went to Singapore to try to get training in, and that was definitely a fun time. And then after that, this year was the first time I've been to the States. And yeah, so it was not necessarily something that was spontaneous. It was definitely planned, and it was only until this year where I actually was able to come to the US and train and compete.
I know that we like to shit on blue belts, and you yourself no longer a blue belt, but I do like the idea of trying to come over to the United States and go, oh, well, I'm a blue belt and a lot of potential here. Come on. Let's make this visa happen. Or how does a green card? What do I need? Just give me the thing that allows me to go there. So for you, I know it's difficult for people, period, but it was difficult to get the ability to come train here. So I'm glad you were able to use Singapore, because it did look, just from my own opinion, the way that David rolls, what I know about him, it did look like it was time well spent, because when I did see you align in with the guys over at B team, it looked like you integrated pretty quickly, just from my outside view. And you could see even you have somebody like Craig Jones putting you over and saying like, yeah, this kid's really good. I hate it too. And I go, I've heard this before. So to me, it's pretty cool when you have people who are vouching for you, who a lot of people go like, oh, their jiu-jitsu is pretty good. So how would you describe your first interaction with B team? Because you mentioned, obviously the ideal was planned, but it's kind of hard to plan what you'll get from these jokers. Because as funny as they are and as personable as they are, I know how hard they work and I know how good they are. So what was it like in terms of your first interactions with those guys?
So in terms of first interactions, like, it wasn't like, oh, I had to be there for 3 months until they looked at me. Like, they were very nice and very friendly in the sense where they would ask, I'll say hi, answer questions and stuff like that. But I think I definitely did get some rolls with them at some point. Like, once I rolled with one, I think they'd say, okay, I'm not going to try kill anyone. I'm not going to try jump on their legs and I'll try not demonstrate that I'm not necessarily dangerous. And then I just showed up to every session, and then hopefully they notice. I remember the first time I rolled with Craig was when I pulled up in full leopard print gear to try to catch his attention. And then I ended up rolling with him, and so it worked. But I think through that he could kind of see that I wasn't necessarily super uptight. I was like, I rock up in literally shorts and top, both leopard. And then after that, I think they took a liking to me, I guess. But yeah.
You did what most people would call the reverse camouflage. Like, you showed up in the most obvious way possible. And I'm sure it doesn't hurt that if he's looking at that and he probably goes, hey, is that my mate? Is that my merch? And then you look at it and you go, I'm just saying I'm wearing stuff. And he's probably thinking like, ka-ching, I made money off this. All right, I'll roll with you, kid. You know, I have a similar but different saying. Again, not that I'm good, but sometimes when I run into people and they recognize me because I interview people like you, they'll say things like, I'll be like, hi, my name's Raph. I host a show. And they'll go, oh, yeah. Cool. The other response I get is, I know who you are. If anybody says, I know who you are, I'm pretty sure they're going to try and break me in the training. I'm almost positive they don't like me. And the sad part is they'll see me roll with the people who are very friendly to me, and they'll be like, hey, man, you were a much harder roll for me. What were you going easy on that other person? And how did they get that armbar on you? And I was like, oh, they subscribed to me, so they can have whatever they want. Like, if you subscribe, I was like, is it YouTube? Oh, you got me, dude. Oh, man, that's so good. Don't forget, Premium HY.PAGE. Go subscribe to that. That's a big thing.
Do you wish that you could recover faster from workouts or training? Do you wish you had the same energy, power, stamina, and drive that you used to? Every year after puberty, your growth hormone decreases, sometimes by as much as 50%. And, spoiler, it doesn't come back. It doesn't matter how in shape you are or how good your diet is. Just like death, taxes, and sequels to The Fast and the Furious, they're gonna happen, whether you like it or not. But Raph, how does this affect me, a young Jiu-Jitsu practitioner who believes he will never get old? Well, growth hormone decreases can cause poor workout performance, slow workout and injury recovery, chronic fatigue, mood swings, depression, body fat, low libido, poor sleep, and a lot more. Though frankly, if you're asking me, that sounds like plenty. That's where BioPro Plus comes in. BioPro Plus is the first of its kind 100% non-synthetic alternative to prescription HGH growth hormone treatments. It immediately replaces what your body is not getting, and it does it naturally without the needles, nasty side effects, or the expensive costs of typical synthetic growth hormone treatments. BioPro Plus is not a synthetic drug, so it won't shut off your natural production or cause you to pop on any drug tests. Wink, ADCC competitors. Since 2009, BioPro Plus was only available through doctors, but not anymore. Now you can get BioPro Plus shipped directly to you. No doctor visits, no blood work, no pharmacy. If you're serious about your training, and I hope that you are, go to BioProtein Tech and use the promo code GRAPPLINGHOUR for $30. We're giving them $30 off to our idiots. Okay, it's their money. Go to BioProtein Tech and use the code GRAPPLINGHOUR for $30 off. So go check out BioPro Plus today before your competition does. But I always tell people, I go, training should be fun. And I think that's one of the nice things that we see about the videos with you and you guys. And having seen them elsewhere, it's not that they weren't fun, because we do see fun exists. But now you get a sense of who they are when we see those videos. You get a little bit of that gym culture. And of course, Craig is very self-effacing, and getting to know him, he's kind of like, I haven't told him this in person yet, but I find him to be like the Bugs Bunny of our sport. Like when everything else is falling apart and everybody's being an idiot, Craig's always here just like chewing on a carrot being like, it's crazy, right? And they go, nothing bad happens to Bugs Bunny, but everybody else gets electrocuted, falling off of cliffs, and Craig's okay. So I think he's kind of that cartoon for us in this realm. So you get there, and we've seen some very impressive matches, and we'll get to your Pans run in a second. But have there been matches that have stood out to you that you've been competing here in the United States? Because I do want to commend your trials run. I thought your trials run was actually one of those things where I'm like, yeah, he did win, but man, you could see the makings of, okay, he's had a little bit of time with the B team guys, and it's starting to show, and you're starting to come into your own in your own age and your own development. So I was definitely paying attention, but what have been some of your favorite moments while competing out here?
So in the US, I think I only competed in the US for obviously the Tacken match and ADCC Open and now Pans. The others were the trials. And I think for me, like my breakout performance was the Tacken match, and that was definitely very, very helpful for me and getting my name out there. It was definitely, like, I think that was the first fight I had in like a year at that point. And so first like tournament or any form of competition. So I was like, this will be good. And so it went as well as it could have for me. So it was definitely nice. And like in terms of competing, and I did appreciate how like this was one of my primary goals of coming to the US, is getting better quality of competition as well as more coverage, as opposed to if I've competed in China before, and it's like no one actually gives a shit, especially those people who don't live there. It's like so my idea was if I wanted to make a good name for myself, so the US was the way to go.
We also saw the ADCC in China. We know people don't give a shit. We saw how empty those stands were. So compare that to what we're seeing nowadays. Maybe things could be different. I don't know. But I definitely remembered being up in what I like to call a fever pitch dream, and like that year, and going like, what time is it? Cool. Are they just dancing in a gymnasium for their halftime? Am I high? Like, is the thing over, or are we just okay? So I definitely understand what you're talking about in that regard. I do want to let you know, Tackett was actually recently on this show, and he had a lot of compliments to say about you. But he was like,
that's wonderful.
He does. So here's what I love about Tackett. Tackett on the show, the Who's Number One, rabble rouser. So we definitely, I gave him shit about that. But I asked him, I was like, what did you feel and what did you experience, especially with the ADCC Open? And he was so good. He was like, dude, I really wanted to run that back with Jozef. And I'm so glad that he's here because he got me and I wanted to get him back. And he goes, but the thing I want to say about him is I feel like he and I are probably going to do this more down the line. He goes, because there's a good match there. So, even though he's one of those competitors like you who wants to win, he was like, dude, he's just good. And I loved hearing that because I told him, I'm like, we're friendly with you. We're friendly with almost everybody. But I told him, I go, yeah, I liked seeing you guys match up against each other because you represent good jiu-jitsu, but at a young age where now we're starting to see kids who are only training jiu-jitsu because they're going to be jiu-jitsu athletes. Whereas before, I'm sure, even when you were young, so it's not that far off, you think, oh, MMA is where I'm going. And you see a different path. So I think it's really cool that we're getting that next generation of kids who are just devoted to this. And it shows. So I want to make sure that we cover that. And I wanted to pay that forward over to you because when he said that, I go, yeah, he mentioned it. And I go, I'd watch that match any day. So I'm good with that. So I hope that you understand. I'm pretty sure you feel the same way.
For sure, yeah. Like, I definitely do. Like, he's always super nice. So, like, I've never gotten any like bad vibes from him. So it's like I do. And like, even though I lost the match with him at ADCC Open, I was like, I felt super happy for him, especially after he won the episode. I was like, I can't be upset. But yeah, I definitely do think in the future, like he's someone that I'll have to see in the future, unfortunately. But because we're around a similar weight, around a similar age, it seems like times, I think.
And listen, like I said, we are of the mindset because we know so many people. We tend to see people get matched up. Even tonight, when I watch EBI and a few, it's going to be like, oh, we know both those guys. And I get people all the time. They're like, who are you going for in this tournament? And I go, whoever wins. And they're like,
Exactly.
why? And I go, because we know too many people. I can't keep telling you guys who I think is going to win because some of them actually watch the show. And we've even had, I think recently, Mason Fowler came on. He's like, why didn't you pick me? And I was like, fuck off, dude. Like, Mason, you're good with us. You don't need my validation. And if you do, it's a very, very poor showing on your part. So I would say we're very open to that. And especially because we like both of you. So, I would ask this, though, because obviously the end of ADCC Open didn't necessarily go your way. But what did that experience feel like for you? Because there were so many people in my circle who were passing videos of you to me. And I go, yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad this kid is getting traction. What did it feel like to be at that experience?
It's pretty awesome for me, but definitely I was more mentally preoccupied with my teammates or the guys at B Team who were about to compete. So that was what I was most looking forward to. And doing the ADCC Open was more of a, it didn't occupy me as much mentally. It was just, oh, I may as well do this. And after that was over, I was like, because I generally get quite nervous. I was like, finally, I can. And then I have to be more nervous for my teammates now. But it was definitely a good showing for me. I feel like I definitely enjoyed the experience. Like, it was quite awesome in the sense where it's like, it's an ADCC rule set, but it's not the trials. So it's a lot more chill, you could say. But yeah, it was cool. It was like my first like open competition in the US that wasn't a super fight. And so I got to fight a couple other people who were also quite tough. Did you see the twister wrist lock I hit?
Yes, I did. And that is one of the videos that got passed my way because I remember one of my friends dropped it in my DM and goes, ouch. And I go, yeah, the kid's a little shit. He's really good, but he's learning really deadly stuff on his side.
But yeah, that one was definitely, I was very surprised to get that, but there was a tremendous amount of satisfaction afterwards. I was like, because in training, I actually threatened it just to like try fuck with people. They're like, I better not get fucking wrist locked from here. But I really didn't expect it to work. And I was like, oh, this is wonderful. It was a pleasant surprise.
I mean, listen, dude, when you nail stuff like that, you are entitled to feel happy. You did it. It's great. There are certain rules and protocols of things that even I don't do to people. And I'll be honest with you, I've done everything from that twister position, from the handcuff, like you're arresting somebody, hand behind their back, and they tap from that. I've literally, so I have a student now who, he's a white belt, but he's one of these kind of characters where he goes, hey, coach, I got something for you. And I go, okay. And this kid, without taking a ton of classes, literally tried to do a calf slicer on me. Tell somebody a little bit later, though. But I'll tell you the ending first. I immediately calf slicer him back. Like, he tries to calf slicer me. I just roll it out, and then I calf slicer him. He's a white belt. Normally, I wouldn't do that to him. But he goes over to people after our roll when I'm not around. He goes, yo, did you see that? I almost got Coach Raff. And I was like, my buddies, without even entertaining it, go, I'm sorry, you almost got Raff? And he's like, yeah, Coach Raff didn't see it coming. And they're like, yeah, I didn't see any of that, but I'm pretty sure that didn't happen to Coach Raff. And I'm like, dude, I'm a shit. Yes, I did calf slice him, but it was to teach him a lesson. There are people like you out here who are literally doing it for fun and going like, oh my God, I have so much power. This is great. Let's always do this to people. But yeah, dude, it was epic. It was amazing. I was really happy for you. But it was definitely one of those, I don't know that I would do that. But if I was competing at ADCC Open, I'd probably be like, all bets are off. So little columns A and B.
I find like there's an internal battle within me of trying to do good jiu-jitsu and really shit jiu-jitsu. Because at times I feel like for me, especially in terms of like in competitive aspirations, my good jiu-jitsu shit that like works. But then I think definitely being around Craig too much has rubbed off on me in the sense where it's like I'm trying to like pull mount from close guard and try Ezekiel you. So I feel like it's definitely not helping my real jiu-jitsu or my jiu-jitsu game. It's not benefiting because I'm never going to do that in a competitive setting. But I think it's like I'm of the mindset where it's like sometimes you just got to have fun. And so I have this like eternal conflict within me of balancing the two.
I also realize I'm the one that has to abstain from this conversation because I'm the guy over at my gym putting people in figure 4 leg locks and then being like, if you did jiu-jitsu, you wouldn't be in this. So that's on you, dude. Yeah, I would tell you this. I think if you're competing and you hit it and you're enjoying it, just keep doing it. But like, the thing that's difficult for competitors is nobody wants to be a highlight reel but our entire sport is predicated on the fact that somebody has to be part of the highlight reel. So if you don't strike like this, I can guarantee you if they got an armbar, they'd be like, yo, did you guys see this? My armbar was dope. So I try to have a good sense of humor about it. I will tell you my one rule, and you guys obviously don't follow this because there's security cam footage that happens all the time. But I tell people all the time, I might hit somebody with a certain move, but usually I don't put it up. I usually just send it to the person as my way of being like, do you remember when I got this on you? Or like, you might find this funny. And to their credit, most of the time they put it up and I go, you don't have to put it up. That's not why I'm sending it to you. I'm very, very more on the reserved, like, you and I both know what happened. Nobody else needs to. And then sometimes they'll repost it and forget that we have a podcast and that other people see it. And that suddenly they become a meme and they go, how did I become a meme? And I'm like, you know what, dude? We know a lot of shit bags. I guess that's really all it comes down to. So if there's ever a little fight between the angel and the devil, you know what I mean? Use your judgment. I'd say let the devil win sometimes.
Yeah, it's got to be like a net neutral. You can't be too good and too evil. You got to balance it out.
Absolutely. And ask yourself this. If you don't do it, do you think that Craig would do it to you in the gym afterwards, knowing that you held back on somebody else in competition? I'm pretty sure that would give him more ammunition to try and hit that nonsense on you.
Yeah, for sure. Like Craig, I don't think Craig needs any more ammunition. For some reason, he just tries to hit the worst shit on me, regardless of whether I'm doing good jiu-jitsu or not. Like he's like, I don't know if he likes me or hates me. It's not clear to me. Because like from the praise, he praises me sometimes, never to my face.
Right.
And then he'll just try, like, not necessarily murder me, but almost humiliate me and make me want to kill myself in training. Like he'll squeeze a body lock on me and I feel like I'm about to die. And so it's definitely an interesting dynamic.
Can I pose a little theory I have here?
Go for it.
Okay. I think that Craig might see a little bit of himself in you, and that maybe he sees a kindred spirit of nonsense in you and goes, yeah, this kid will do nonsense. You know what? I'm going to do it to him. And I have bad news for him, which is this is something I do tell my students as well. I have to go offensively on doing nonsense now because I am getting old. You, however, have youth on your side and can be doing that nonsense to him and watch Craig sit over on the sidelines and start to become the I'm not rolling right now guy. So I think he's trying to get it in while he can. That's just an outsider's observation. What do I know?
Yeah, that's definitely very plausible. However, I don't plan on giving him an option when he's older.
Oh, God. I think you answered your own question as to why he does the nonsense to you now. But, hey, listen, if you're putting up a pretty good fight now, it bodes well for how it's going to be when Craig's walking around in a crutch. Because that man's not going to get heel hook and injured. He's going to do something really dumb. Like he's going to fall over and trip on Gabby Garcia one way, and then all of a sudden he can't walk for a year. So that's kind of in my head how I think things work. Trust me, things have a way of playing out. So I would tell you that seems like it, because you're right. He has praised you, and I mentioned that he's mentioned it on his Instagram stories, and he shouted you out, and I think that's wonderful. And I know a lot of the other guys super excited. One of my favorite things, and this is actually a great transition over to Pans, was just the love that you were getting from the guys. Like I love seeing when Nikki Rod's just like, let's go on your post of you winning gold over at Pans. And I want to make sure as I close up that ADCC Open chapter, I think the entire B team in general had a very solid first year. Like got some great results at the big thing, but you yourself also were part of that. And I hope you feel it and understand it, because you got to contribute and have people have eyes on you as well. So you aren't just a member of the team that's just there. you're also contributing, and we know you're kind of on that come up as well. So that's why I'm looking out to see when your next super fights are. I'm hoping people like Who's Number One starts putting you on their radar. Maybe they are, I don't know. But I feel like more and more people should start putting you in that region because you're the right age. You're a gamer. You seem like you're a lot of fun for like high spectacle matches. So I won't be surprised if I see more and more stuff like that coming for you.
For sure, yeah. Hopefully that's the case. But yeah, it's definitely wonderful how supportive like a lot of the B team guys are. I definitely do feel like, yeah, I definitely do feel supported in that environment, and I'm like very grateful for that. Like it's more than I could have asked for going there. So like looking back on that now, I'm very happy just in general about that.
Yeah, I told like Ethan and Damon and all the guys when I saw them at trials get mega hype for one another, I just thought like that was such a nice adjustment for me to see in the composure that they normally had at tournaments before then. And I just thought like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like you see these young dudes just enjoying the moment. And I thought that was cool. So it did occur to me as you were competing at ADCC before we got to the big worlds competition that I was like, you set them up very nicely. So like you started the momentum. I think that you had some great performances, and I think that bodes well for what we can see in the future. So
maybe if I didn't lose to Tackett, Craig, and Nicky Rod could have won. Who knows?
That's 100% what happened there. That was the deal you guys cut with the genie, which is no. You guys are both going to take second because of Craig, the Craig curse. So blame him, not anybody else. But I just know, you guys are maybe more serious about the end results because you're the athletes and you have your eyes on a prize. But there's so many of us who are observant to the way you do jiu-jitsu and the way you carry yourself. So that's why when we see a result like Pans, it's very quick for me to give you a call and be like, hey, we're going to do this now. Like you've been on the radar. I know we've talked about wanting to do it, but it was like, yeah, that was a great performance. So talk a little bit about your Pans experience. How many matches did you have, and what were some of the highlights, in your opinion, that you had from that weekend?
Yeah. So now I competed on Sunday, so I got to see some of my friends compete on Friday. So I was there Friday. Unfortunately, I think PO was the only one that medaled. The rest lost like first or second round. So that was mildly depressing. And so I felt I was like, oh fuck. But then I was also like, okay, I better win. And then so coming Sunday, I did I think it was middleweight division. And then so I had 5 matches, and they were actually pretty fucking tough. I was like, at my first match, I won by advantages, and I was like, I'm gonna kill myself. They better not all be this hard. And like looking back, they were like all of my matches were like, it was probably like the toughest tournament. I've definitely like all of those matches were very difficult. Like I had easier matches doing ADCC Open and both of the trials, so it was quite surprising to me. I was like, holy fuck, this is tough. But they were good matches. I think I only got 2 submissions, unfortunately. But yeah, overall, I'd say good experience. I definitely fought some tough guys. So yeah, I really appreciated competing there.
I would agree with you in the sense that was part of the thing that stuck out to me was I saw you get challenged. And I think it's kind of weird because as an athlete, it's easy to get caught up in well, this was easier or that was harder. But the nice part is, as an observer, as somebody who's watching you compete and you getting tough matches and still prevailing and showing us new dimensions, we see new things that maybe you've been working on and it's old hat to you. But in terms of how you looked, there was never a moment where I thought like, oh, he looks pretty bad. I mean, it's a pretty shitty situation out here. I was like, no, he's really fucking doing a good job. And as you mentioned, yeah, of course, things get harder as you go. But if this is you going through and gritting through a lot of hard matches, you still look pretty good. You still ended up with gold. And I think that's the sort of stuff that is going to make whatever comes next for you, and I imagine there's next, even more impressive. So like, I would rather you have these hard matches now, so that way when you go back to ADCC trials again, things seem a little bit easier for you then. So I think it's happening the way it's supposed to, even though to you, I'm pretty sure at Pans, you're like, wait, I thought this was going to be a cakewalk. Who brought these people in? Are these ringers? Where I would like to see their papers. Where are they from? So I get that about you and describing like that. What was the reaction like? Because I know at this point you've had a social media presence that has grown and grown, not just from the B team, but from also your performances. Did you get any particular notes that kind of stood out from that Pans weekend? Because I'm sure you were inundated with a lot of love from that weekend.
So yeah, in terms of like the support, obviously, all of my friends are very supportive. And then in terms of other things, I definitely do think it's notes for myself would be like, obviously IBJJF is a different rule set. I didn't appreciate that I wasn't allowed to do heel hooks, so I mostly avoided the legs just because I was scared I was going to get called for something that I might accidentally do. But other than that, I just think it was a good competition experience, and I definitely agree with what you said before. It's like facing adversity was definitely good for me because obviously European trials I got ankle locked, and then Asian trials came to beat me. But facing that more consistently and that not just being like one tough match it's definitely appreciated. And I know for a fact, like a lot of my competitors at the Pans, obviously they wanted to win as well. Some of them were like competitive blue and purples, and so I kind of someone in a similar situation to me and facing them and then being able to overcome that challenge, because them like me, they might be trying to like grow their name, trying to because everyone there's a purple belt ultimately. It's not like they're fighting the world stage, so they're all very hungry and they're all very they all want to win. So it was definitely very nice. And I was actually pleasantly surprised is even though I found it so tough, one of my friends told me, he's like, yo, you went through and you didn't get scored on. And I was like, oh wait, oh shit. And so that was definitely very cool for me. But yeah, just the different rule sets and stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, good for you, man. And like I said, there's a lot that you're building, a lot of goodwill, a lot of good momentum. So from somebody who's an outsider who doesn't get to see everything, we are noticing some upward trajectory. And that's on top of the great notes that we've heard from our friends about you who have said keep your eye on him. So it's really cool to kind of see that manifest in such a, from my perspective, it might seem longer to you, but in such a short amount of time. So I think that bodes well for what we're doing here. It's almost the end of the year. As a result of that, I know that there are probably goals or things that you're looking to do. What are you looking to try and do before the end of the year to close out strong in what has already been a very impressive year for you, sir?
So unfortunately, I won't be able to do Worlds because my visa will run out by then. However, I plan on trying to do a couple competitions before I leave the U.S. And after that, I'm probably going to be traveling around Asia in a bit to just train, meet up with some friends. And that's it. No major plans as of now, but obviously waiting for the next trials run. And then, yeah.
Hell yeah, man.
Maybe. That's something I want to try do.
What's that?
Maybe I also want to try compete in the gi when the next gi season comes out. I might try to do a couple of those, but I'm hesitant to say because I feel like the outcome of those let's say those competitions won't be as good. But I just enjoy training. So generally any form of competition. I've had a lot of people ask me talking about oh, so you don't train in the gi anymore? And I'm at B team, there's not necessarily much gi training, but yeah.
I'm pretty sure so you should do what I do, because I teach no gi at a gym that doesn't really understand what a gi is. So anytime I get somebody who wants to train gi, I bring a second gi and I go, hey, put this on. And they're like, I don't want to. And I go, you don't have a choice. And they go, but I don't like the gi. And I was like, it's because you suck at the gi. Why don't you try saying that out loud? And they're like, meh. But, Gordon says, I was like, is Gordon here? Are you lying? Until you are, you can train this gi because unfortunately, I'm still better at you and I will beat you up either way. And I have no problem bullying you and doing that. And the reason why I teach it to them is because every once in a while, they'll learn something, especially if their size difference is fairly significant. I'll be like, look at what you just did. You could not do that to me in no gi. So I always try to tell people like one or two cool tricks. And then I'll always do something flashy to be like, oh, did you see that? And they go, that's really dope. And I was like, come to my gi. Telling you, come take a gi class from me. I think you'll like it a little bit better. So I always try to do something a little flashy. And I'll say this, I'll see other BT people trying to beat things in a gi. So I'm not saying you're better than people, but maybe that's the word on the street. I don't know. That's just what I'm hearing in these headphones. Streets be talking. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
I want to give you this opportunity. I know you said that you had some sponsors. I would love to give you the opportunity, put the camera on you, and let you go ahead and give a shout out to anybody who's been helping you, especially with the PANS performance. That was so impressive. I want to give you the opportunity to just give shout outs to whoever it is that helped you to get to there, sir.
Okay, so I appreciate it. So I first want to thank my clothing sponsor, and my sponsor who helps me pay for these trips is Alex. He also owns Al Leon, and so that'll be the clothes that I'm wearing. So he's definitely made a lot of this possible, but also before he was my sponsor, there are a lot of other people helping me, some being like Feng He and my gym back home, like some of my business partners, Wu Xiao, and one good friend Maddie, and obviously the whole B team crew, because without them, I probably wouldn't get as good of training and as much support. So obviously everyone at B team, and then my mom, my sister, my family, everyone. So yeah.
That's what's up. And you know what, young man, congratulations to you. I love the fact that, you go from somebody who gets submitted on a video to us. I look at it, I laugh. I think this kid's got a good sense of humor. Lo and behold, a short time later, you're coming to the U.S., terrorizing citizens here, and then aligning yourself with some of the biggest goofballs yet strongest people that we know in the sport, who are also quasi ridiculous at how good the sport is. So when I see stuff like that, I think you've aligned yourself with some good folks. You're doing well. You're contributing to the team. I'm very excited and impressed to see what is ahead from you. But it does come with one small warning, which is you might be good at WWE BJJ, but you will never beat me in WWE BJJ. You can beat the shit out of me in regular jiu-jitsu. I can kind of concede that fact. Granted, you're still a purple belt right now, right?
Yeah.
Shit. All right. Well, I am too. So, all right. I'm going to get rid of that. I'm a long-standing purple belt. But that's only because it does not, I'm not actually a brown belt yet. But I'm happy to roll with you. I have no expectations there. But I want you to know one thing, which is, should you pose too big of a problem, I have no problem grabbing a folding chair and hitting you with it. So I want you to understand these terms now so that they are completely viable and expected when we end up rolling with each other. Do you agree to these terms?
So I have 2 points, and ultimately I'll conclude with those. And then first, you should make up your own martial arts so you can give yourself a red belt in WWE BJJ. You could definitely sell a lot of merch that way. I would be disappointed if you weren't to try throw a chair at me. That would absolutely break my heart if that weren't to happen.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I think I use it more to kind of keep you at bay, because you got the super traps, which tells me I looked at his arm span. That dude probably darces pretty well, and I don't see too much evidence of it, but I can guess. So when I start detailing somebody, I literally look at the way they look and I go, okay. He probably does this. I might have no evidence, but I'll literally be like, it's like racial profiling, but it's literally jiu-jitsu profiling. You just stare at somebody and go this kid's tall, lanky, strong. Yeah, I'm not going to do this with him. Yeah, fuck that. All right, I'm not doing that either. So I am very much the Batman of my main training partners because I have no superpowers. My superpower is having a jiu-jitsu richness, which is just having a job. And I just keep files on all the other Justice League members, and I go like, ooh, his weakness is kryptonite. All right, pass to the left, body lock. Got it. So anytime somebody like acts a fool, I'm always like, I know what your weaknesses are. I know your left knee is not good. So yeah, but you're in your case still very young. Not too many things that I'm aware of. I've seen you get tombstoned, and you're kind of light, so I think that's in the play. I think that's a possibility. But again, I just want you to understand that, yes, same time, same place. We will settle this because I just can't have you out there beating up people too much. Jiu-jitsu's fine, but don't cross my realm.
We should enter the shootouts. Both start with a sharpshooter, see who wins.
Oh, okay. You know what? Honestly, fun story. If you literally start a 50-50 battle, it is a vague version of the sharpshooter. It's the wrong side legs.
Like that could work, to be honest.
Yeah, but the problem is that I've seen how fast you can get up and how your hips work. So I don't know that I win that one, but I would cheat. Hilariously, somebody, I don't know if you've ever seen, but there's a version of the X break that somebody does where they extend the feet. So if you're in 50-50, they extend the leg back.
That's kind of thing, right?
Yes. And your arm kind of gets stuck in that position. Mm-hmm. The only weakness on that is that it raises the hips up. So then when I'm stuck here, I'm like, oh no. And before they can get the heel hook, I literally stand up, turn them over. And they're like, how'd you do that? I was like, well, your hips are compromised and I just turned you over. And I remembered somebody being like, but I was supposed to win. And I go, you're right, but I did. So fuck off. And that's when they go like, your dumb stuff works. And I go, sometimes. Yeah, sometimes it does. And I guess I was willing to take a heel hook for it. And I just figured the heel hooks are shit. So, but Joseph, much appreciation to you, young man. You're doing some excellent work. I look forward to interviewing you again after the next big thing, because I know there's going to be more interviews in the future, but I just wanted to kind of put a nice recognition of the work that you've done so far, and especially what we've seen from our side as fans. But you're doing incredible work. You've got a great future ahead of you, and we're very much looking forward to what you got next, my man.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on. I've really enjoyed it. So yeah.
Absolutely. I'm glad to hear that, my man. Just stick around. I'm going to say bye to you off air, but I'm going to close this thing up, and then I will say a proper get the hell out of here in just a second, sir. But my appreciation to you, sir. All right, everybody, just as a reminder, I want to tell you guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, give us a like, a share, tell somebody, and more importantly, you can subscribe to us on our YouTube page or any of our pages, be at YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, Periscope. I think that one's dead, actually. Instagram, at Grappling Hour, on all of those places. And more importantly, as we mentioned up top, HY.PAGE /Grappling Hour. Give us some support, because the money that you give to me makes us get new equipment, which gives us new abilities. So you guys will see what I mean in the near future, as we have recently purchased a few different cameras. So it's going to change the way that we do our fight companions, the equipment that we have. I don't want to give too much away, but you'll see it very soon. November 12th, next fight companion. Actually, no, a fight companion's happening right now, but that doesn't matter to you. I'm going to do one for EBI. Anyway, what I have to say to you guys is thank you so much for watching. It has been a great day for grappling. We'll see you back on the mats.